to the farm. If you're new here, I'm Nina. I'm a homesteading, homeschooling mom of 4, ages 8 down to 3, and I am married to Daniel. And here on my channel, we talk all about homemaking, homesteading, and homeschooling. Today, I am sharing with you my award-winning chili recipe. And the reason why I call it award-winning is because it won an award. It actually won a chili kick-off at my church. Oh goodness, that was probably like 8 or 9 years ago. So I'm going to share with you all the ingredients that you need to make it and how I make it. So stay tuned. Okay, so the little backstory on this chili recipe. About 11 years ago, I found out that I had to go gluten-free. And chili was one of my favorite things to eat. And I always used to make it with one of the packets of chili seasoning. Well, if you look at the back of those back then, they had wheat in them. So I had to come up with something different. This is not anything like extraordinary. It's not this fancy chili recipe. It is just plain and simple to make, and it does not have any wheat in it, and does not have a lot of crazy ingredients because I have very picky eaters in my family. So what you are going to need is, for the beans, I use black beans, which these are dried, and then I also use red kidney beans that are dried. I'm going to show you how I cook these in just a minute. And then I also used 1 can of Bush's mild chili beans. And these are the pinto beans and that. So it has 3 different kinds of beans in it. And you'll need 2 pounds of meat. So for this time, I change it up. You can use beef, you can use, probably could use like ground turkey. You can use pork, you can use deer. Today, I am making it with ground pork and ground deer. So this came from a deer that we processed here at the house that was killed in the backyard. And then this is also from the backyard. These are, this is some ground pork off of our farm. So I will be browning those up in just a little bit. As far as seasonings, you are going to need, I put oregano, chili powder, of course, cumin, paprika, granulated onion, and granulated garlic. I realize that you could probably use like the fresh ingredients if you wanted to. I'm not sure like what the ratios would be, but I have people in my family that do not like the texture or the freshness of these 2 items. Crazy, I know, but this is what we're working with. So you will need those for seasonings, and you will also need a can of tomato sauce. This is a 29-ounce can. This may be enough. I usually use this for making the quantity that I make. I usually use this can and like a 15-ounce can, but I don't have one. So I'm gonna see if I can make this work. If not, I may have to break open another big can. We'll just see how it goes. And if we're out of it right now, but if I have tomato sauce that I have canned from the summer left over, I will use 3 of those cans. That's like a 12-ounce can. And I recently tweaked this recipe and I added chicken broth to it. I know it sounds crazy, but it made it taste. It added a different element of flavor. I'm always tweaking and changing my recipes. So the original of what I originally came up with 11 years ago is not what it is now, but we're gonna go with what it is now, and I'm gonna share all that with you. First, you can't see it, but over here on the back counter, I have my Instapot. First, we're gonna cook the dry beans. You can buy canned beans if you want to, but we just have switched over to dry for most of our beans. So you would just get I think this is a 16-ounce can or a 15-ounce can of the black beans and the red kidney beans at the store if you don't want to use dried beans. But I'm going to show you how to do it with dried beans. So I just have a regular Instapot, and what I'm going to do, as it sings to us, is I'm going to add in the beans. And I have a 1/3 of a cup measure. I have a strainer because I'm going to wash these first. I just remembered I probably should do that. That might be smart. All right, so I'm going to add 2/3 of a cup of black beans. This is gonna look like a ton of beans. Our family loves that many. So you could go less or more depending on what your family does. That's not set in stone. It's not gonna change the recipe any if you use more beans or less beans. And then we're gonna do 2/3 a cup of red kidney beans in here. All of the beans are in the strainer. I'm just gonna wash these really quick. All right, and I'm just gonna throw those down in the Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, you could do these in like the overnight soak or the quick soak and cook them a little bit to kind of soften the beans before you put all this into the slow cooker. So I'm actually gonna slow cook this. You can quick cook the chili recipe on the stove top if you want to, but this is slow cooker style going on now. Okay, and I have 2 cups of water over here. I'm just gonna pour into my Instant Pot, and I'm gonna add a little bit of that chicken broth that I was telling you about. I'm gonna add a little bit of that into with the beans just to give it a little bit of extra flavor. I'm probably gonna do about a cup. Doesn't have to be exact, just a little bit. I'm only measuring this because I'm doing this on film for you guys so that you will have measurements. And I'm just gonna pour it down in there. And I'm gonna get some salt. And this is not gonna be exact because I don't know. I just take like pinchfuls like this out of my salt container and throw it in there. Probably gonna do 2. If I had to say, that's probably close to 2 teaspoons. If you've ever cooked dried beans, you know that they need a lot of salt. I know that seems like a ton of salt, but they need it. So then I'm just gonna put the lid on this and set the setting. Make sure that it's off the vent, that it's on ceiling. And then I'm just gonna let it cook on my Instant Pot, there's a setting that's bean and chili. I'm gonna set it on that and let it cook for 35 minutes is what it's set on my Instant Pot. So I'm gonna let that sit, and while that's going, I'm gonna brown the meat. All right, so now we're gonna brown the meat. I'm just gonna take my kitchen shears and cut the packs open, turn it on to about medium high. Put the meat down in there. And like I said earlier, if you missed this part, I am using a pound of ground pork, and I'm using a pound of ground deer or venison, whichever one you want to call it. Around here in the South, we call it deer. Because both of these are off of our property in our backyard. That's mostly what the meat that we eat. We will eat beef from time to time whenever I cook hamburgers, but most of the time it's pork from the farm and it's deer from the woods. All right, and to this, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper just for flavor while it's cooking. And then we're gonna break it up. So if you're unfamiliar with the hogs that we raise on our farm, they're American guinea hogs. They are a lard hog, so they're gonna be smaller than your regular commercial hogs. They're what you call a heritage breed. They were around on farms in the 1800s for the purpose of making lard. They once became endangered, and so if I remember correctly, like 2007-ish, maybe, I think that's right, there was only 200 left of that breed in the country. And so now they have made a comeback, and I'm not sure the exact number of hogs that are available in the country, but I know it is well over several thousand. And that is one reason why we picked this breed, is because they were endangered. But in recent years, gourmet chefs have brought the American guinea hog meat into a lot of the farm-to-table restaurants, because the marbling in their meat, it almost does like what beef does. And so it gives it this very kind of rich flavor. Not gamey, but it's a different flavor than conventional and commercial pork. And we really love it. Our favorite is the sausage. All right, while the meat is browning on the stove back over there, I'm gonna go ahead and add all of my ingredients that I want to go in the slow cooker. And you may be asking, you have the Instapot out, why are you not using the slow cook feature on the Instapot? I don't feel like that gets the stuff warm enough, and I just don't really like using the slow cook setting on the Instapot. So I have just a regular old crock pot slow cooker right here, and that's what we're gonna use to cook the chili in. And so let's add all of this stuff in. All right, so we have the 29-ounce can of tomato sauce going in. We have the 1 can of mild chili beans going in as well. I will add the black beans and the kidney beans in later when they get out of the Instapot. So those will be added in just a little bit. Let me stir this meat up back here. So to that, find all my stuff. I'm a very messy cook, and I cook all over the kitchen. So like the entire kitchen looks like it blew up when I get done cooking. Just means it tastes good. All right, so I'm gonna add some more chicken broth. I'm probably only gonna add about a half a cup because I have some over there in the beans, and I'm just gonna pour all those contents that are in the Instapot into the crock pot. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more of the chicken broth because my husband does not like our chili to be super soupy. He wants it to be a little thicker. So I don't want to get too much liquid in there, but I also don't want it to be like stew either. I want it to kind of be an in-between thing. And these measurements for spices that I'm going to give you are to what you start with, and then you add from there. So I'm not really sure how much ends up in there, but I do know to start with, you are going to do, for this one, you are going to do 2 tablespoons of chili powder, a tablespoon of cumin, a teaspoon of paprika, a teaspoon of oregano. I know that sounds weird, but I like the way oregano tastes in this. Then we have onion and garlic. And like I said earlier, you can use the fresh ingredients if you want to. My family just does not like it. So I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of granulated onion and 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic. We're gonna add in a teaspoon of salt, and I do something a little bit different than most people probably. I add sugar to my chili. And the reason why I do this is to kind of cut out the tanginess of tomatoes. And I started doing this when I started using our own tomato sauce that I made from the garden, because our tomatoes had a little bit of a wang to it, and this just kind of cut that out. So when I'm using store-bought tomato sauce, I don't use as much as I would if I'm using canned tomatoes. If I'm doing canned tomatoes, I do a tablespoon, but I'm just gonna do a teaspoon of sugar in the crock pot. This is what the crock pot looks like now before I stir it up. I'm just gonna stir everything in. Okay, so we're gonna go in with our 2 pounds of ground meat right into the crock pot. And we're gonna stir this around, just get everything incorporated. If you still have any big chunks of meat, just kind of break that up as you go. Now this may look a little bit little thick, but remember we're gonna add in those beans that are in the Instant Pot and it'll loosen it up a little bit. Oops, I forgot to add in black pepper. So I'm gonna add a little bit in now. I would probably just, our family doesn't like pepper, but I would just do like a 1/4 or a 1/2 teaspoon. I'm gonna do less than that because like I said, our family doesn't really like it. So I'm just gonna do probably an 1/8 teaspoon. But you could do a 1/2 up to a 1/2, depending on how spicy you want it. All right, the Instant Pot has finished. I have the beans sitting over here, so we're gonna add those to the crock pot real quick, along with all of the liquid from the Instant Pot. We're gonna stir this in. But I'm just gonna continue to let this cook for about another 4 to 5 hours on low, and I will see you guys at supper time. All right, as you can probably tell, it is dark now and it's supper time. The chili has cooked for the last probably 5 hours, almost 6 hours. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a taste and see if I need to add anything to it. Like I said, those spices that I put in there are just what I start with, because sometimes depending on different tomato sauces that I use, different meats, it all can vary a little bit. So I'm just gonna kind of give it a little bit of a taste and see how we're doing. And it's gonna be really hot and burn my mouth. Noah. Not bad. Noah. Shh. Sorry. Daniel just drove up, so he's gonna go nuts for a minute. No, it's pretty good. I would probably leave it alone, and we'll just go with it like that. Some things that I serve it with is my family likes black olives, so we'll put black olives on it. Noah, shh. Let him open the door and let him out. Can you open the door and let him out? There, let him go see Daddy. Okay. We use Frito Scoops. Those are our favorite, or taco chips. And of course, you have to have extra sharp cheddar cheese, sour cream, and I get a little crazy and I do a couple of avocados because I can't have cheese. But we do like this dairy-free cheese. It stinks to high heavens, but Amelia likes it. I'm not a big fan of it, but Amelia likes it, so I keep this on hand for her. So I'm just gonna serve this up, and it's supper time, so let's dig in. Alright guys, thanks for joining me today as I showed you our chili recipe, and as always, we are so grateful that you join us for our videos and are here every week when we upload our videos. And if you haven't already, subscribe and so that you can stick around and see more videos, and we would love to get to know you down in the comments. And you can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. So don't forget to look those places, give this video a thumbs up, and we will catch you in another video very soon. Bye guys.